Hi, this is a training video about the main functionality of the cash register. Once you open up WakeSys, this is usually the page you'll get to. Now as an employee you have two options to log in. Either you select yourself from the list and put in your password and click login, or you simply scan your wristband on this page here. Something that you might try but that will not work is if you select yourself from the list and then scan your wristband. It doesn't work for the simple reason that once you scan your wristband, it will type the password, it will type the chip number from the wristband in as a password, and that doesn't work. So if you want to log in with your wristband, you just keep on this page here where you see select staff and scan your wristband. Once you're logged in, you get faced with this screen here that basically screams to you, hey, start a shift. The shift is very important, otherwise if you don't open one, you won't be able to sell anything. We'll have a quick look at that in a second. So starting a shift is basically like a digital logbook where everything that you sell, discount or refund gets saved on. And afterwards, once you're done working, this shift can also be checked by your manager or by the cable owner to see what was discounted, how much was sold, what was refunded, etc. So let's open the shift. And directly we'll see we'll have directly a lot more buttons here on the side to choose from. Now let's select any of our customers and have a quick look at their profile. So here we can see we have a bunch of buttons. So basically all the buttons to be able to sell or refund something. Let's go back and quickly close our shift. And then let's compare the same page again. So now we choose Chris again, and we'll directly see that we're missing a lot of buttons. So if you ever come to this page and you see, hey, where are all my buttons? Well, you should also have this button, this big red warning button up here saying, hey, you don't have a shift. So by simply clicking on that button, it brings you back to the first page. Well, now you'll be able to open your shift. Next on the side here, we have a bunch of buttons, and we only go through the most important ones. Because at WakeSys, we try to develop for the use case. So what happens 95% of the time? So everything in WakeSys is built towards those 95%. And that obviously also means that the other 5% might need a few more clicks than you're used to from the rest of the system. So let's take a step back and actually look at the operations of a cable park. Usually when you work at the cash register and the customer comes in, the first thing the customer will do is walk towards you and say, hey, I'd like to go wakeboarding. And then you should be saying, hey, good to have you. Have you been here before? Have you registered online? Most of the customers will then say, no, we have not. And I say, okay, sir, ma'am, that's not a problem. We have a few iPads over here. So if you would please go over there as a family and sign up. So once the customers go over to the iPads, that's the screen that they'll see. And now they'll be able to choose their language. On the next screen, the customer will then be asked who they want to register. So they have the choice between signing up an adult or signing up a child. Given that families can always sign up on one iPad together, most customers will actually choose adult. And in that process, the adult will also be asked whether they want to sign up their partner and their children. So on the next page, we'll ask a few information from the customer. The ones on the top are important for the system to work. The information on the bottom are linked to your park. So depending on whether your park needs an address for the insurance or for the waiver, etc., there's more information being asked or not. So up here, we start by putting in our email address, and I'll explain all the information in a second why that is important. Voila. So the email address is important in the system because afterwards that's going to be the username for people to log into the system so they can buy their tickets online, they can buy season passes, punch cards, they can download their receipts, and they can view their riding statistics. Next we ask for the first name and last name so that we actually know who we're dealing with. Next we ask for the birthday, and that is important in case your park uses a waiver, but also for you as an employee to save you some time. Because basically if the system knows that the customer is an adult, you as an employee won't be shown the children's ticket. Next thing with the age, with the gender is exactly the same thing. So if the system knows that the customer is a male, you won't be shown the ladies' night ticket. And again, like there's fewer possibilities to make a mistake. In our demo here, the system now asks for a bit of contact information, and this is again very much depending on what your park actually needs for information. Next, whether we want to receive a newsletter, and then we have to accept the terms and conditions. Now on the next page, the customer will be shown the release of liability only if, in case your park actually has a release of liability. If it doesn't, this page here obviously won't show. So on this page here, the customer now puts in his name, signs, accepts, and then hits sign up. On the next page now, the customer has the possibility to add family members to his account. So in our case here, we will be adding a minor to our account. So here we're adding a child, Laura, it's a girl, she's born 2010, and on February 7th. What you'll notice is that here we are not asking for the contact information for the address, the phone numbers anymore, because we'll take this information from the adult. On the next page, the adult will now be asked to accept the terms and conditions, and we make it very clear who has to accept. So here, it's not Laura who has to accept, but the adult that's standing in front of the iPad. Next, we also show the release of liability for the daughter. And then here we say, hey, print the full name of the legal guardian of Laura. And some customers will actually put in the name of the child just because they don't read. And if they do that, they'll get a notification, hey, no, don't put in the child's name, please put in the legal guardian's name. So the legal guardian name is Chris. We sign again, we accept for Laura, and then we're good to go. So this brings us back to this page here, and we could keep going on with this, so adding more children, adding our partner. But once the customer is done, they simply click no here. Would you like to add another family member? No, we don't. And that then tells us, hey, thank you for signing up. You can now go to the next cash register. So going back to our cash register, we can see that our page here got reloaded and that we have people on this list that recently signed up. So on the top of the list, you will always have the person that has been longest waiting in line. So you don't have to remember who walked in first, but the system will tell you who's been waiting the longest. So you simply just choose the first person from your list. Basically what you want to do then is like call out the name, hey, who's Chris? Oh, that's you, buddy. Hey, come over to me, and smile into the camera, because once you select the person, the camera will pop up. And you see the frame around it. So in that frame, if the face is in there, you basically don't have to cut the picture afterwards. Voila. In case you need to cut the picture, this is something where you need to use your mouse. So your touch screen won't be able to do this operation. So take your mouse, click outside of the whitish button, outside of the whitish area, and simply click and pull. So that would give you a new box that you can put over the customer's face, and then simply hit save image. Once you've taken the picture, next you'll be faced with a notification up here that says release of liability, please verify. Again, if you don't have a release of liability at your park, you won't have this box here either. But in case you do, you simply click on it, which will scroll you down to the waiver where you'll be able to check it. So now you have to imagine this on a 24-inch computer and not on our test computer here. So what you want to do is have a quick look at all the information, if that's actually possible, and also see if the signature looks something like a signature. If you are not sure about the customer's age or the signature, please ask the customer to show you some ID. In case all the information is correct, you can simply hit verify. It will ask you again whether everything's correct, and you just confirm with yes. This is basically the whole activation process for a customer that just signed up. So now, once a customer signed up and activated, now you have all the buttons up here. Something that I want to put a bit of focus on is the blue bar here. So that's the WakeSys Business Intelligence. The WakeSys Business Intelligence is there to show you as the employee the most important information about that customer to give him a better service. So in our case here, hey, it's the first time Chris is there. Well, you might think, yeah, that's obvious because I just told him to go sign up for the iPad. But the customer could have also signed up online, and then you wouldn't have known that the customer's never been there. So if it's the first time the customer's there, you should be introducing the park bit to the customer and explain how everything works. Say, hey, buddy, in a couple of minutes, you get one of those wristbands here. It's going to have your rental equipment and ticket on it. Once you've paid, you can change over here on your left. The bathrooms are to your right. Once you're done changing, you can come back to me. I'll give you your rental equipment. Once you have all that gear, you can go to the starting dock. Well, you see two red poles where you'll please have to scan in every time it's your turn. Your ticket only starts the first time you scan there, so you don't have to rush. Everything's easy. So you get an hour or 2 hours depending on your ticket from the moment you scan. Once you're done, you can bring your equipment back to me. And then your wristband, actually you can keep it, and next time you come, you just simply come with your wristband. You can even buy your ticket online, and then you can go straight to the starting dock. See, that's a completely different customer experience from, hey, what's up, to actually explaining what's going on at the park, because most people have never done wakeboarding, so you want to explain them what is going to happen at what point so that they know where to go after they've paid. Other information that will be shown in here is, hey, this is the second time the customer is here. Last time was a couple of days ago. Back then he did 5 starts, 0 laps. So if you see that the customer wasn't really successful in doing a whole lap, well, then it would be a good idea to either recommend him a one-on-one session with a coach, or to simply give him a few tips on how they can manage to make a whole round on the cable. Other information are like, hey, it's the customer's birthday, or this is one of your top 10 best customers. So everything that generally brings you any added value, knowing about your customer, will be shown in that blue box. So back to the use case, we would have gone to customer search, selected the customer on the top, taken a picture of the customer, validated the waiver, and explained a bit how everything works. And as I said before, given that at WakeSys we build everything on the 95% use case, well, 95% of the customers that will come to your park will actually just want a ticket. So for that, you simply click on tickets, and here it will show all the tickets that are available for this customer's gender and this customer's age. So we'll now ask, hey buddy, what would you like to do? And the customer will say, hey, I'd like to try an hour. It's always a good idea to point out to the customer, hey buddy, for just $5 more, you can stay twice as long. Plus it gives you more time to figure out the whole sport. And a lot of customers will actually go with your recommendation. So in our case, we'll say, okay, customer wants to go for 2 hours. Next, we'll get to the equipment page, where we'll just be showing the equipment available for 2 hours. Because that, again, that's the use case. So our customer here wants to get an advanced board, and that's the only equipment he needs. If you ever have a customer that, for instance, needs a wakeboard for 1 hour and an advanced board for another hour, you can click here on Show Hidden Equipment. That will give you the option for all the other options in the equipment list. Next, we'll be asked for wristbands. And now, depending on your park, you usually have between 3 and 5 different designs. So that's where you want to show the customer a design to choose from. Certain wristbands might be more expensive if they're limited edition than other ones. But once the customer is choosing the design they want to have, you should be choosing the size of wristband they get. Usually you have a pretty good understanding of what size wristband you have and what size wristband the customer needs. Because if you start giving the customer 3 different sizes, you're basically losing time. That's very valuable on days where it's just busy. So the customer chooses the design, and you choose the right size for the customer. So once you've chosen the right wristband, you simply tap it twice on the RFID reader, and this is the only place in the system where you actually have to scan it twice. That's just to make sure that we're not making any mistake when scanning the wristband. Once we've scanned the wristband, it will bring us to the checkout page. Well, now we'll be able to see all the things that we've chosen. Here it's always a good idea to have a quick look at all the information if we haven't done any mistake. In case we have, don't go back, but simply go back to the customer page and restart the process. Because that way the process is always the same and you don't have to figure out what you chose previously. That is very important because on busy days you quickly forget what you've done, and then you have to ask the customer again, etc. So it's just a pain. So simply just restart the process. So in our process here, we've chosen a 2-hour ticket, we've scanned the wristband. from another park, so that's why the system gave it for free. So that's something to know in WakeSys. If a customer comes with a wristband from another park, the system will recognize it and it will automatically give a discount because the customer's already paid for that wristband at another park. Next, the system also shows the rental equipment, and down here it now shows, hey, add a note to receipt. That is due to the fact that we've added something for free, so basically discounted it. And just to make the life easier for your manager, but also in case the park gets checked by the tax authorities, it's always very important that every discount given in the system has the information on why it was discounted. So in our case here, that discount is due to wristband from another park, and that will be linked to that receipt. So if your manager checks on your receipts at the end of the day, they'll see, oh, okay, that wristband there was given out for free because it's actually not one of our wristbands, but it was a wristband from another park. Sorry. Next, you scroll down and you choose your payment method. So in our demo here, we have the option between cash, prepaid, and we can see that the customer doesn't have enough prepaid to pay with that, and credit card terminal. In our case here, we're going to ask the customer how they'd like to pay, and then the customer said, hey, I'd like to pay cash. Okay, perfect. So the customer hands us a $50 bill, and we put in the $50. So that is very important. So what you don't want to do is ask the customer how they want to pay, select pay cash, and then hit pay now. Because now if the customer doesn't have enough money, well, now you've put in a sold ticket in the system that you didn't actually get paid for. So now you would have to refund everything, which again makes you waste your time. So only put in the payment amount, put in the payment method and the payment amount once you've actually received the money from the customer. So what you want to do is take the $50, put the $50 in here, put the $50 next to your cash box, and then actually hit pay now. So what will happen next is now your cash box will open, and the system will tell you how much money the customer needs to be given back. So in our case, that's $16. So now you take the $16 out, you give it to the customer, and only now you put your $50 in. That again is just to make sure that on a busy day where you have a lot of things to do, you don't forget which bill the customer actually gave you. Okay, I think that's something that has happened to all of us in the past, that you give somebody some money and then they ask, do you remember how much you gave me? And then you're like, oh no, I don't remember either. And then you basically need to close your shift, and then you need to start counting the whole cash box just to figure out how much money you've got wrong in the cash box. Additionally, on this page here, you have the option to put the remaining money on the prepaid account. That is something a lot of customers will actually do for smaller amounts. So instead of saying, hey, here's your $2 back, you could ask the customer, hey, would you rather put your $2 or $16 on your prepaid account, because that way you can reuse them to afterwards pay for some food and beverages, or you can use it towards your next payment for a ticket. And actually a lot of people would just say, oh yeah, sure, just put it on my prepaid account, because that way they don't have money in their pocket. Again, the system would open the cash box. And if you want to print a receipt, you can simply just click on print receipt here. So if we go back, that brings us back to the customer profile. So our customer here, he's ready to go, and the customer can now go and change. So while the customer changes, we'll go over all the options that we have here in the cash register. So as we did previously, the ticket process includes the ticket, the rental equipment, and if the customer doesn't already have a wristband, it also includes the wristband process. Refund the ticket is basically the same thing backwards, but remember that if you refund the ticket, it will refund the ticket and it will refund the equipment. It will not refund the wristband. Add equipment is for the scenario, for instance, if a season pass holder goes wakeboarding, he comes back in, says, hey, I broke my board, can I get a wakeboard for 1 hour? Yes, then you can simply go on add equipment because the customer already has a ticket. Another reason to use this functionality is if you have a beginner that started with a beginner's board, comes back in after an hour and says, hey, this is amazing, can I try one of the feature boards? Yes, then again you can go on add equipment, and you simply just add another equipment to the customer's ticket. So in our case here, now we'll be choosing the prepaid, because exactly the customer needs to pay $16 and I have exactly $16 on the customer's prepaid account. So we choose prepaid, hit pay now, and you'll see that the cash box won't be opening now because the customer's not giving you any money, so there's nothing to put into the cash box. Again, we go back on the page and the customer goes back on the water. So here we also have the possibility to refund equipment. That's something that you will very randomly need. It usually just happens when you did a mistake while selling a product, and then there's usually not any other use case for it. Then we also have add RFID wristband. So there's actually a couple of scenarios for using this. So one could be, and that's probably the most common one, season pass holders that forgot their wristband, or they've lost it, or they have it at home or something. So that's when they come in, you want to go and add them a new wristband. So it's just simply scanning your wristband twice, and then you will be forwarded again to the checkout, where now you have the option to pay. So in our case here, this time we'll be choosing credit card terminal. And again, with the same thing that we did with cash, if somebody wants to pay with credit card, wait until you have the credit card in your hand, take your credit card machine, put in the $2, put in the credit card, hand over the credit card terminal to the customer, have the customer enter their PIN. And only once you hold the confirmation in your hand that the payment went through, you click here on Pay Now. The system will ask you again whether that payment really went through, so have a second look on the piece of paper that came out from your credit card machine, because it might actually say, hey, declined. So it's very important that you don't make mistakes there, because it's very hard for accounting afterwards to fix this mistake or to even find this mistake. So in our case here, everything went through smoothly, and we come back again to the confirmation page. In case where we would have chosen no, if the payment didn't go through, it would have brought us back to the select payment page. So we go back here to our customer overview again. So next we have deactivate RFID wristband. And this, the most common use case for that is the customer forgot or lost the wristband in the lake, and if they have some prepaid on it, they might come in and say, hey, I lost my wristband, I have quite a lot of money on there, is it possible to block it? Yes, no problem. So you go into the customer's profile, you select deactivate wristband, and now here we're faced with an issue, because now all of a sudden we have two wristbands. So which one did you lose? So we have two options. Like if the customer has the second wristband with them, they can simply scan that wristband and it will show us the wristband that we just scanned. Or we ask the customer, hey, do you remember approximately when you bought that wristband? And usually customers have a pretty good idea about it and say, yeah, that was a couple of weeks ago. So you just simply look at the date and the time, and then you can figure out which wristband they actually lost. So now you have the option to actually refund it or to deactivate it. We're not going to do any of it, because afterwards we want both wristbands will stay valid, which means that if a customer has two wristbands, he or she can also use those two wristbands to afterwards start at the starting dock to go wakeboarding. So that's interesting for all your season pass holders that are very forgetful. So at one point they'll have one wristband in their board bag, one in their car, one on their wrist, and maybe one on their helmet, and they can use all of them. So next we go back to our overview here, and now we'll go through the scenario of the customer coming back and maybe wanting to have something to drink. So we go here on kiosk. Now we get all the different tiles that we created. So our customer here wants to have a soft drink, and now we choose the water. So if the customer would have enough prepaid now on his account, it would actually show you here, and you would be able to choose pay with prepaid. In our case here, the customer doesn't have enough prepaid, so we'll go on either select method of payment, or if the customer actually has a dollar bill in hand and he hands us over the $1 exactly, then we can put Cash Express. So Cash Express, only please use it if the customer hands you exactly $1. If the customer hands you $5, please use select payment method. So in our case, the customer hands us $1, so we just go on Cash Express. It will open our cash box, and then we'll get the payment confirmation. So now, on purpose in the system, whenever we sell a product in kiosk, it brings us back to the kiosk, because a lot of times there might be another customer right afterwards, but it really depends on where you are on the system, depending on which page it will bring you back. So anyways, now we've lost the customer that we were just selling something to, and in order to make it not weird and ask the customer what was your name again, it's very easy to find again like the last customer you were dealing with. So here on the left you have customer search, then you have last picture, and you have last invoice. So if you go on last invoice, you will have the list of people that you were just dealing with. So here we're just going to click on Chris, and it will bring us back to the profile of the customer that we were just selling the product to. Another very nice functionality in the system is add prepaid. You'll actually see that if you promote this correctly, you can have a lot of people save you a lot of time. So especially families or people that come on a regular basis are people that you want to recommend prepaid to. So the process is as follows. You go and add prepaid. The system will ask you how much money you want to add to the prepaid account. So in our case, we'll say, well, we want to add $100. Okay, next you click checkout. And then again, you're on the checkout page. So now we have again the option between choosing credit card and cash. And in this case, we'll say, okay, the customer pays in cash. So $100, pay now. Voila. Next, we come back onto the confirmation page. And if we go back, we come back on the customers page. The next option in the system is refund prepaid. So depending on your country, you might be legally obliged to pay back prepaid to a customer if they ask for it. And in case you want to pay out prepaid, you simply go on refund prepaid. You select the amount you want to give back, say $10. And then it's important to know that you can only just pay out prepaid using cash. Yeah, so you can't choose another payment method. You have to give the customer back the money in cash. Again, the cash box would open, you would take out the $10, give them to the customer. So the next point on our menu here is memberships. So in memberships, the system will show you all the available memberships for customers' age and for customers' gender. So if you're on an adult's profile, it won't show you the children's season pass, and it won't show you, for instance, the ladies' special pass if the customer is a male. So in order to sell a season pass, you just simply have to click on buy, which will bring you to the checkout page. Now you see that we have two checkboxes here, and that is usually just important if you are a park that's migrating from another system to WakeSys. So in case you have to migrate a customer to WakeSys, you will usually have a list stating, okay, customer XYZ, he has a season pass that goes until, let's say, the 1st of July. So in case you have a customer like that, you choose a different starting date, which is basically it starts today, and then your season pass goes until the 1st of July. So you choose the 1st of July, and next you'll get a you'll get a pop-up from the system saying, hey, we just want to make sure that you've selected the right number of days because the season pass is usually valid for a year, but you've just chosen 53. Is that correct? Yes, that's correct. So we go on buy, and now we put it on the payment page. So next we would only just now choose our payment method, and from that moment on the season pass holder has his season pass, and from that moment on the season pass holder can just simply walk down to the starting dock, scan his wristband and ride. So they don't have to walk into the shop anymore to have their wristband activated or to buy a ticket. They can just simply go to the starting dock and ride. The next menu that we have is punch cards. So punch cards are usually deals where you say, hey, buy 10, get 11. Or buy 10 and you get the different tickets at a discounted rate. And punch cards, with the difference to season passes actually have to be activated. So that's something we'll show you in a second. So in our case here, we want to buy a 10 times 2 hour ticket. It brings us to the checkout page, and our total is $190. So now we have a customer say, hey, I actually have $90 in cash, can I split? And you say, yes sir, that's not a problem. So in order to split the amount, you first have to ask the customer how they want to split, and then the customer will probably say, hey, I'd like to pay $90 cash and $100 in credit card. Okay, so that's not a problem. So we click here on little scissors. We put in amount to split, $90, amount given, $90. Then we hit pay now. It will open the cash box, we'll put in the $90, and then it will bring us back to the checkout page. And now we have another $100 that are left open to pay. So this time we choose the credit card terminal. We put the amount in, we put in the credit card, the customer enters their PIN, we confirm that everything's correct, we have a second confirmation from the piece of paper that it went through, and then we hit yes. And that's how we bought a punch card, and that's how we split paid it. So, as I said before, the difference between a membership and a punch card is that the punch card user actually has to come to the cash register and tell you that they want to use one of their punch cards. The reason for that is simple. If a customer has a 10 times punch card and he wants to use and he wants to go wakeboarding for the whole day, it doesn't make sense for him to use 2 or 3 punch cards that day because he would be overpaying. So in that case where he wants to ride for a day, it makes financially more sense for the customer to actually buy a day pass over using 2 or 3 of his punch cards. So if a customer has a punch card, it will be shown in the tickets page. So if we go on tickets, and obviously it's not going to show it to us right now because we already have a ticket for today, but we'll just simply choose tomorrow. And now we have our punch card up here that we can choose for tomorrow. So for tomorrow, the customer wants to use his punch card. Does he want to add any equipment? No, he does not. And you'll notice that the system doesn't ask for a wristband now because the system knows the customer already has a wristband. It then brings us to the checkout, and the system says that it recognizes that it's a punch card ticket, so it will charge at $0. So you can choose here payment method cash. You don't have to enter anything because the customer doesn't need to pay anything, and you just hit pay now. So that activates the punch card for the customer so that he can use it at the starting dock. Next, we can go, we have refund punch cards, so that's in case where we want to give it back. We have the possibility to refund it prorated, so the system will calculate how many punch cards, so how many tickets of the punch card have been used and how many not, and then it would offer you a prorated rate. So we've used 1 out of 10, so the pro rata would be 90%, so it would give us back 9 out of 10. We're not going to do this now because we actually want to keep our punch card. Next, we have gift cards. So gift cards in WakeSys, that's something important to know. I always value gift cards. So we don't sell gift cards, for instance, for a 1 hour pass or a day pass, for the simple reason that you might be changing your ticket prices over the years. So say this year a ticket price was 25, next year it's 27. Well, if next year the customer comes with a $25 gift card, well, then he'll have to pay an additional $2, which will just be frustrating for the customer. So if you want to sell a gift card, you just select the gift card that the customer wants. So in our demo, we just have those 2. Next, the system will ask us how we want to pay for that gift card. So we'll say, okay, we want to pay that with cash. So we put in the money to the cash box. And now on the confirmation page, on the confirmation page, now there's 2 things we want to do. So whenever you sell a wristband, it's very important that you first of all print the instructions for the customer, because otherwise they won't have their gift card. And we also recommend that you print the receipt, because that way you can give the receipt to the grandma or to the mom that bought the gift card, and you can give the instructions to them additionally to give to the child or to whoever wants to get the gift card. So the gift cards get printed on your receipt paper. They will show the value, they will show the gift card code, they will explain how customers can redeem the gift cards themselves online or how they can redeem it at the park. So now if we have a customer come to the park with such a gift card, we have redeem gift card. So on redeem gift card, you can now either use your barcode scanner to scan the barcode, or you can put in by hand. So here I scanned the wristband, I scanned the barcode, but you could also simply put it in by hand, and then you don't need to write in capital letters, and you don't need to put the minuses between. You can just simply type it without the minus in minors, and the system will recognize it. So we click next. The system checks if the gift card is still valid, and if it is, we can hit redeem now. That would put $50 onto the customer's prepaid account. So to take a step back on that, if you have a customer that comes in with a gift card, your first step should always be, hey, so good to have you been here before, or have you registered online? And if the customer says no, you'll have to register them first, because if the customer is not registered, you can't redeem the gift card to their prepaid account. So once the customer is registered, the customer comes up to you, you take the picture. If you have a waiver, you validate the waiver, then you go and redeem gift card. Only after you've redeemed the gift card, now you could go on to buy a ticket and then choose as a payment method prepaid. Next, we have family members. So now we get into administration stuff, not selling stuff anymore. So under family members, we can see all the customers that are linked to a customer's profile, but we can also add the child to a customer's profile in case, for instance, the dad came wakeboarding last year and back then did sign up his daughter. So it's very simple just to add somebody to a customer's account. This is also something that the customer can do himself on the iPad by simply selecting, hey, adding a child to an existing account. But that's something also you can do for the parent. So here we're going to say we're going to add another child. So that's Anna. It's going to take all the other information from the dad's profile. We hit add, and now we have the child added to our account. So we go back to our profile to see what else we've got down here. So here we have receipts. So whenever you want to reprint a receipt, you just simply go onto receipts, you select the receipt you want to reprint, and you just hit print receipt. In case you want to download it in letter form, you can also hit download receipt. Next we have comments. So comments can be something very interesting if you have information about the customer that is of value for other employees. So that could be something like a known disease of the customer, or it could be something like, hey, this is a very good friend of the owner. Like if that person comes in, please be very respectful, or hey, this person always gets a certain discount because he's a friend of the boss, etc. So anything that's important for other employees to know, you can leave a comment on that. And the last comment that you put in will always be shown on top of the profile. So let's quickly save this here, and then we'll see that we have the last comment on top of the list. If we scroll a bit down, we get to the customer's profile. So in case we want to change something, we just simply have to click on it. So let's say the customer changed their last name because they got married. Well, just click on the last name. It will open up the box, and then you can just change it. One important thing to know here is that customers cannot change their first name, their last name, their gender, and their birthday. That's just to make sure that customers don't cheat. For instance, if you have two siblings that pretty much look like one another, well, you don't want to have the sibling be called Jeff one day and I don't know, Peter the next day. So that's just why we in the system deactivate that customers can change their name, birthday, etc. Something that you get from time to time is customers saying, hey, I don't remember my password. I tried to reset my password, but I don't get a confirmation. I don't get a reset mail sent to me. And the first thing that you should then always confirm with the customers to actually check which email address they are using, because a lot of times customers have more than one email address and they might not remember the email address that they signed up with. So always confirm that they're using the right email address, and if they have, down here on change login password, you can now either choose to have a new password sent to the customer, or you can have you can enter a password manually. So in case if the customer is standing in front of you, it's depending on how busy you are on that day, it's not a bad idea to call the customer over to your side and have him enter a new password right in here, because that way that problem is directly solved. Other things that we have in here is sent emails. So that's where you can check all the emails that were sent to the customer, and you can actually resend certain mails to them as well. If you want to have a bit of an idea what those emails look like, you can just click on it and it will give you a template. So it won't be the exact mail that we sent to the customer, but it gives you a bit of an idea of what that email actually looked like that the customer received. Then down here you have additional information that we don't want to go into too much detail. The last thing that we want to show is here, delete your account. So customers, especially in Europe, have the right to be forgotten. So that is also something that can be very helpful for you if a customer comes in and says, hey, why do I need to register? I don't want to give you this my information. And they say, hey, sir, that's not an issue. Like if you register now, you can go wakeboarding. Once you're done, you come back to me, then I can delete your account and all your information is gone again. But please understand, as long as you're on this property and something can happen to you, we need to know who you are. So that basically calms down those people that are very anti-signing up or anti-giving personal information, because afterwards the system can simply delete all those information. To delete a customer, you go on data protection overview, delete your account, then you hit delete, and then you confirm one more time that you want to delete the customer, and that will basically delete the customer from the system. It won't delete the customer's waiver if you have waivers, and it won't delete any receipts, but it will just delete all the personal information that we have on the customer. So in our case, we don't want to delete the customer. Voilà. And then finally, something for your customers that tend not to behave and that you want to block. You can go here on customer account active, and if you take this flag away, the customer gets deactivated. So from that moment on, the customers can't book online anymore, and he can't scan their wristband anymore. He's basically banned from doing anything at the park. It's usually not a bad idea if you've deactivated a customer to leave a little comment on why you've deactivated that person, so just that the next person working at the cashiers actually knows what's going on, and that the customer can't say something like, oh yeah, that must be probably a mistake, and then back he is on your park. So to reactivate a customer, just simply click on the red button on top, click on the activate and hit save. Wow. So this is basically already 95% of all the things that you can do at the cash register. A few more things that we want to show though. Depending on how your park is set up, you might be giving out rental equipment at your location. So in the meantime, Chris, who he sold the ticket to before, he's now changed, he's coming back to get his equipment. So for that, you will have rental equipment, a rental interface here on your side. And then the customer just simply needs to scan their wristband again, and it will show you all the equipment that the customer just rented out. To give it out, just simply tap on the green button and then hit next. So what this does is it tells the system that me as an employee, I gave this customer here the equipment at a certain set time. Same thing in reverse. When the customer comes back in an hour or two, you again go to a rental interface, you scan the wristband, and it will bring you back to the page, and now you can see at what time you gave it out. So it's not a bad idea to quickly have a look at what equipment they had and at what time they brought it back. So if you see that they overstretched that time by quite a lot, you please tell them, hey buddy, next time please only come get your equipment the moment you actually need it, and once you're done, please directly bring it back. We don't want to punish customers, we just want to educate customers. So to take it back, same thing, you just tap the buttons, and that takes the equipment back into our stock. Next here on our site, to go back to customer search. So customer search is really the main page on WakeSys. Like this is the main page you want to be on, because this is where everything starts. So in WakeSys, the customer is really at the center of anything. So if you want to sell something, you go search the customer. You can also just simply scan the customer's wristbands on here, and it will bring you to the customer's profile. Next, we have customers ads. So that's in case where, for instance, we have an elderly person who I don't know, who can't really see, or they can't be using the iPad for some reason. So we can always add a person manually. Then we have here customer last picture and last invoice. That's basically just shortcuts in case where you clicked something outside and then you've lost the customer and you don't want to ask the uncomfortable question, oh buddy, what was your name again? So you could just simply find the last person by either last picture or last invoice. Next we have guest, kiosk, and gift cards. So there's two use cases where you can sell something to a customer in WakeSys that is not registered. The first one is selling food and beverages. So you can simply go on guest, kiosk, choose the product the customer wants. Let's take a beer here. And you can actually also combine this. So if the customer didn't directly say that they are a registered customer, you say, hey, it's 150, and the customer say, oh, could I pay with my wristband? You can say, yes, sure, no problem. Customer scans their wristband, and then here on top, it changes to the customer's profile, and we can see that the customer has enough money on their prepaid account. Next, we go on select payment method. We choose a prepaid balance and hit pay now, and the customer has paid for their beer. The other thing that we can set to non-registered customers is gift cards, because obviously we don't want to make grandmas sign up in the system just to buy a gift card for their grandson. So for that reason, we have guest gift cards, and the process for selling a gift card is exactly the same as selling a gift card to a registered customer. You simply select your gift card, you choose your payment method, and then on the confirmation page, you print out the receipt and you print out the gift card. So now I want to show you a little mistake that happens to you, or that might happen to you down the road, just as you get used to the system. So at one point, you might be tapping somewhere where you shouldn't, and bam, now you forgot to print out the receipt, and you forgot to print out the gift card. So that's quite an issue. So in case that happens to you, that's not a big issue. So you just have to think, okay, who did I sell the gift card to, or the last thing? And then you're like, okay, was it a registered customer, or was it a guest? In our case, it was a guest. So we go on guest receipts, and then we simply just select the last receipt in the list, and that will open us the last receipt. And in case where it is a gift card, it will also give us the possibility to print the gift card again. In case where it would have been a customer, we would have gone to customer, search, or last invoice, select the last customer, gone on receipts, and then just chosen the last receipt and reprinted that. Next in the system, we have opening hours. So that is something that generally your manager should be doing. And if your manager forgot to do it and you want to sell a ticket, the system will actually give you a notification saying, hey, you don't have any opening hours for today, please go and do that. So that would redirect you to this page here, where you have a lot of yellow timetables. So yellow means it's not been opened yet. So if you want to open a schedule, you can either do it manually by hand by selecting the different time slots, or you can select it by a whole day, or you can select it by certain time slots. And once you have it all figured out, you just basically need to hit save. So that will open the schedule for the cable for that week. Last but not least, something that is very interesting when you get busy and you can't see onto your starting dock is the bookings overview page. So the bookings overview page will give you a good understanding of what's currently going on at your starting dock. So it would show you how many people are currently on the water with less than 20 minutes, with less than an hour, with more than an hour, and people that have a booked ticket and haven't started riding yet. Because that way, when the customer comes in and says, oh, it's so busy, it doesn't even make sense for me to ride, you can say, hey, buddy, not a problem. We are quite busy right now, but in the next 20 minutes, there's 5 people that stop riding. The next hour, there's another 10. So you can already buy your ticket because it's not going to start running anyways until the first time you scan it at the starting dock. Maybe you give the customer a free coffee on the house. But at the end of the day, you have a happy customer. The customer knows what's going on, and you've sold an additional ticket, basically. The last point in the system here is bookings cancel. So bookings cancel is the page that you are going to need to use if your cable breaks and you know you're not going to fix it today anymore. So if that happens, you go onto bookings cancel, you hit the select all button for the day that's currently for the current date, and then you hit next. On the next page, you can now select a reason why you want to cancel all the tickets of the cable park. So for instance, cable not working, and then you want to choose pro rata. So pro rata will calculate for every single ticket that was currently active at the cable how much time has been used of the ticket that the customer had, and then it will refund the part that wasn't used to the customer. So in case where a customer had a 2-hour ticket, he used only 1 hour of his 2-hour ticket, he will be refunded 50% of their ticket towards their prepaid account. So this saves you from the whole hassle of having to go onto every customer's profile, refund the ticket, etc. So this will just do that for all the customers that had a valid ticket for today. That is all the functionality for selling, refunding, or discounting in the system. So the last only thing that is open for the cash register is once you're done working, you want to close your shift. So once you're done, you go on shift, you end your shift. Next, you print out your shift. And if you're the last person working today, you also want to be the person that closes the day shift. Once you've done all that, you can hit log out, and then you're good to go. And that's it.